have a serious question.
Okay.
Because you really enjoy your lifestyle.
I do.
Yes.
Sure do.
Do you ever want to get married?
Welcome to Love Bites. Love Bites.
Love Bites.
Love Bites.
Being a bisexual, living in New York, and going to sex parties sounds like fun, right? Welcome back to Love Bites by Dr. Tara, and here today with me is Zachary Zane.
Hello! How are you doing?
Zach, I'm doing orgasmic. How are you?
Orgasmic now as well.
I love it.
Yes.
So, okay, being a bisexual,
Yes.
living in New York,
Mhm.
going to sex parties,
Yes.
all accurate.
Yes. All extremely accurate.
I love it, love it. Okay, first of all, I think I have a lot of questions from my followers between what is bisexual versus pansexual.
There's a lot of confusion even among like bisexual and pansexual people. Bisexuality referred to like males and females, to sex as opposed to gender. And in that way, it was actually inclusive, right? Because we all have a sex. You could maybe argue it wasn't inclusive of intersex, but clearly that was not the intent.
Right.
But then, as we started really gaining a better understanding of gender and people and realizing the importance of it, people thought bisexuality meant that you're attracted to just men and women. So like gender specifically. And in that way, some people thought it was exclusionary of trans people or non-binary people.
Okay.
So that's kind of where pan emerged from, being like, oh, we're inclusive of, like, pan means all, bi means two, bi perpetuates a gender binary, pan does not. So that's where kind of pansexuality emerged from originally. But then bisexuals were like, wait a minute, most of us are, wait, you're making it seem like we're not attracted to non-binary or trans people, and the vast majority of bisexual people are. So we're like, wait a minute, this makes no sense. You're making it seem like we're like transphobic or non-binary phobic, and we're not. So there was a pushback from bisexuals, and now kind of the newest definition, and this is the one that I think
Give it to us.
kind of makes the most sense, is pansexual people are attracted to like all genders, like regardless of gender, versus bisexual people are attracted to people because of gender.
Okay.
So for me, for example, I'm bisexual because I like highly masculine people, I like highly feminine people, I like androgynous people, I like all these different...
But that's everyone.
Well, pansexual people are kind of like, no, I care more about like the person itself versus how they actually present. So so that's kind of the distinction that's being used now. But clearly this is confusing.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's confusing. I feel like it's okay to use either term.
It really is. Like, sometimes I say I'm bisexual. If someone says I'm pansexual, I'm not going to correct them. I'm attracted to and sleep and date with everyone of all genders. I'm attracted to all genitals, all body types, all everything.
Equal opportunity lover.
Absolutely.
But you're dating a woman now.
Yes, I currently have a girlfriend.
So you currently have a girlfriend. Is your girlfriend bi as well?
Yes, she is. And what was so funny was originally when we met, she was like, no, like I'm pretty straight. And then like on our first couple dates, she was talking about all the women she had sex with, all of like, she's like, oh God, I had this crush on this girl for like 3 years, and we ended up finally dating for like a year and a half, and I'm like, you said you weren't bisexual.
So
like,
she's bisexual.
And then she was like, yeah, I guess I am. And it wasn't even that she was like a little bit bisexual, she was like extremely bisexual, and I thought it was so funny.
When it comes to like sexuality versus like romantics, would you say that you are biromantic as well?
So I do say I am biromantic and I am bisexual. I'm all of it. However, for me, like it's actually very important that I end up with a man long term. I think it's really important for my queer identity. And I don't like the idea of when I'm out with a woman that I'm being like perceived as straight. Like that's not me. I'm a queer man. I'm a bisexual man. I want people to know that.
And the nuances, is it like, I love this woman, like I love my girlfriend.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, because I'm just trying to unpack, like, what is it like? Because you're saying you don't want to be perceived as a straight guy, but yet, like, I love my girlfriend.
Yeah, and I do.
And being her boyfriend.
It's a shame that the world is really divided into gay and straight. You know, it's like, I want to be able to go to a gay club And when I do go to a gay club and I bring my girlfriend and we start
It's like,
making
why are you
out,
here?
they're like, oh, look at this like straight couple who's going into a gay space and co-opting it. And using, it's like, even though I've had sex with more men than any of the gay men there, and she's had sex with more women than any of the lesbians there.
Right.
But still, like, the world isn't set up for it. And also one thing I've noticed is that I end up falling into traditional gender roles when I date a woman, even when we try not to.
Okay.
It's just so ingrained in us in the society that I end up being the quote unquote man and she ends up being the quote unquote woman. And I want it to be more egalitarian. And even when we try not to, it's so ingrained versus when I'm dating a man, it's no, we're both the men. You know what I mean? Like there's we exist outside of this heteronormative script for dating and relationships that I really love how my relationships with men then like manifest in that way.
I like some egalitarian values, but I also like some traditional values. The ones that are beneficial to me.
I get that, absolutely.
What about living in New York? How long have you lived in New York?
I've lived in New York. I moved April 30th, 2017. So what does that mean? A little over 6 years.
6 years in New York, and you've really explored New York.
I know the sex scene of New York quite.
Not ever seen.
I've explored
where is the closest bank? I don't know.
I have no idea. I've explored the population of New York, is what I can say.
Period. You've been to quite a few sex clubs in New York, yeah?
Yes.
How are they different?
Oh, I think that's really important that every sex club kind of has a different vibe, right? There are gay sex parties, which are just all men. There are straight sex parties. They're more like swinger parties that kind of have, I put older in quotes here, but maybe people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And there's certain spaces, and one thing I often talk about is like different types of consent at different types of sex parties and sex spaces, right? Because we always think of kind of enthusiastic consent, which is a yes means yes. So before you ask to touch or kiss or just hug or anything, you'd be like, hey, is it okay if I do this? And that's kind of the norm for a lot of like millennial and Gen Z, like straighter sex parties. But then you have a lot of like gay sex parties that utilize opt-out consent. So instead of a yes means yes, it's more of a no means no.
Right.
And so like, oh, you're allowed to kind of...
It's yes until a no is said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is if you are let's say you're a guy in a sling, face down, ass up.
That's me.
That's you. Exactly. But if you're not saying like the whole point is you want someone to take you. You want the anonymity. Like you're there blindfolded.
Oh, that's my assistant.
That's it.
He wants someone to take him.
You know what I mean? But like, so for that, it's actually not necessarily like you're open for business. That's what you want. You don't want somebody to be like, hey, is it okay if I kiss you? Hey, is it okay if I touch you? It's like, but again, I've been in those spaces, and if someone I don't want to is grabbing my dick, I'm like, hey, no, I'm not interested.
I'm not interested.
No, I'm not
like grabbing
my dick.
I'm not interested.
No, I mean usually I just brush their hand away.
Sorry.
If they keep doing it, I'm like, no, please don't. You know what I mean? You have to be a little bit more firm. There are different types of norms of consent in various spaces, and I think it's really important to know what the norm of consent is in the space you're going to.
Let's say I'm a newbie. I like Google sex clubs in New York because I'm visiting, and I see like a couple of places. I look at the link, and then it says apply. What does apply mean?
So that's a tough thing. Like they purposely don't want visitors kind of in the scene. They want you to be in the community. They want to know that you are a safe person that we trust.
They prefer locals?
They prefer locals and people who are vetted, right? So that's why if you're just a tourist coming in for a one-time thing, there are sex clubs that are like open to that, but a lot of them specifically, like you're naked. You want to make sure everyone is safe and trust that you're having sex.
Not just some random person coming in.
Exactly. A lot of times you need a referral, and people are like, well, they like address it as like a catch-22. They're like, well, I don't. How can I get in the scene
if I don't know anyone?
If I don't know anyone, but I don't know anyone because I'm not in the scene.
Right.
And that is a challenge. But I think the way to do that is to meet people not necessarily at sex clubs, but you use like FetLife or Bloom, or these like apps that are like kinky friendly apps, and you go to those things that are open to the public, right? They're open to the public and they're not initially like sex events. They're just like, oh, meet and greets.
Right.
You schmooze with those people, then they start inviting you out, and then you can use and then they know all the clubs.
Get to know the people first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and thank you for making that significantly more succinct as I like monologue for forever here.
So when you applied, obviously you were someone who haven't been to these sex clubs before, right? Like the very first time someone applies, like the first time you applied, were you already like going to like sex parties?
So I was still somewhat like, I was always in the space just being a sex writer.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like
oh
people...
yes, he's a sex writer. Just so everyone gets the context. So actually tell them first, like who do you write for? Like, you've had so many articles.
Sure. So right now I have like 2 columns. One is at Men's Health and it's called Sexplain It, and it's a sex and relationship advice column. And then I just got a new column a couple months ago, and it's a monthly one at Cosmo, and it's called
Love It.
Navigating Non-Monogamy. So it's specifically that column is different in that I've been non-monogamous for almost a decade.
Which we need to talk about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I share all of the mistakes I've made in this journey, and so how you can learn from them. And when I was pitching Cosmo originally, what I kind of said to them, I'm like, clearly like non-monogamy content is in. You see it everywhere, every mainstream publication's talking about it.
People are really interested. I feel like because I'm a college professor and I'm interacting with Gen Zs are very interested in non-monogamy because they've seen so many monogamous people failing in their relationships.
That's what it is.
They're like,
we don't have healthy role models. Many of us do.
Yeah.
But we have like,
they're like, what are the other options?
It's that. And so I was pitching to Cosmo, I'm like, but the articles that are out right now are always like how to open up your relationship or how to navigate jealousy. And I'm like, I don't have to worry about opening up a relationship. I'm very healthy with jealousy. There's still 10 million things I struggle with, and I would like to like delve into all those other issues that are happening that I'm just not seeing addressed. So that's kind of what that column focuses on.
Okay, can you give some advice for people who's not in the sex space, but maybe do live in New York and want to start like going to sex clubs and exploring? Do you still say like go on the apps first? Yeah, I think get on Field, get on FetLife, get on Bloom, and meet people, interact, become more like acquainted. The first few times you go, you're not immediately going to a sex party. You're going to these like meet and greets. FetLife has something called Munches, what they do, and it's a way to just kind of socialize and meet people. And then, often when you apply too, like you'll have someone call you and kind of not grill you, but question you. Interview you about just what would you do in this situation. So they actually ask a lot of questions about consent to make sure you have an understanding of consent. If you want to play with this couple and you spoke to them earlier, but they're in the middle of a scene, like what would you do? Would you approach them? Would you not approach them? Like different various scenarios to make sure that like you understand and you're a safe person to be in the space. So you've obviously been to the sex clubs and sex parties. Oh like private parties. Which one's your favorite? It's not like naming names, but like which type, I guess, context, because they're contextually different. They really are, and it's both are fun. You know what I mean? Both like I love it. I'm bisexual. You know what I have to. You can't say that every time. I love it all. But it's different, because a lot of like I'm now in this scene where it's like I have friends who like throw sex parties, like 30 to 50 people sex parties. Do they pay, like do people pay to go to these? So like literally they'll do like a donation based being like, and is it like the custom is like to pay? Well, it depends if it's like a sex party or like a friend group or whatever it is, but like usually it's just friends. They're not making money off of it. They're just like, hey, I rented out a space or I bought safer sex supplies or food, alcohol, whatever it is. Like if you have the money, please give $10-20 just to like cover the cost, but they're not trying to make money. You are polyamorous, right? Yes. Okay, can you explain the difference between polyamorous and like, let's say, an open relationship? Sure. Yeah. So I talk about this in my book. Let's plug your book. Okay, yes. Boy Slut, a memoir and manifesto, out now. So everywhere books are sold, on Amazon, on anything, on Bookshop.
Boy Slut is one word. If you type it in 2 words, sometimes I can't
crazy
promise what
things
comes
come
up.
up.
I can't promise what comes up. So polyamory means you're open to having multiple romantic relationships with
Okay.
people. Open relationships are just about sex. So you have this primary partner. You have a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, they friend, whatever, and then you're allowed to have sex with other people. And of course, there are various ways to have different open relationships where it could be you only play together. There are often some rules where it's like you can't sleep with your exes, or you can't sleep with friends, or no like sleepovers with people. Some of them are always funny where it's like no kissing, and like when I've been like hooking up with a guy and like you go to kiss because it's such a normal part of sex, you're like, oh no, I can't do this. And I'm like, I'm literally having unprotected sex with you and coming in your butthole, but I can't kiss you. But it's whatever works.
It's whatever works.
That you have with you and your partner, and you have to stick to that agreement.
I would say the kissing part is a little tough. Like, I would say I also would prefer no kissing.
And I understand it.
Because the kissing to me is so emotionally involved compared to like fucking. Because fucking is like recreational. Like exes, I'm like, no exes.
Oh no, exes are...
You're like, exes are fine.
No. Essentially, I don't have really rules in my relationship. I really trust my partner, and if it's like with an ex, if it's an ex that they're just friends with and whatever it is, if it's like a toxic ex and they're getting back together and getting into the shitty abusive relationship, I'd be like, I strongly advise against this. And like making it clear I'm not coming from it from a place of jealousy and insecurity. I'm doing this because
of love,
and also like I don't know if you're making the right decision here, and I am your partner, and I want to help and support and protect you. But of course, at the end of the day, it's their decision.
Do you believe in marriage?
It's yes. I guess it's a great question that I actually haven't been asked. It's of course, some people take a lot of issue with a marriage because it's this patriarchal institution, or pick one of a million other reasons why. But I think you can have a marriage that's very egalitarian and very beautiful and very equal, and that would be the type of marriage that I have. And I want to be able to celebrate my love with someone and to have a level of commitment with someone and to show that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love love.
I love love
boy.
as well.
Lover boy. It's your next book.
I really might have to. I feel like that's great.
We're gonna do that. He's gonna come back to promote his book Lover Boy.
Yes.
But don't forget to get Boy Slut.
But in the meantime, get the book that is out, Boy
get
Slut,
Boy
a memoir and manifesto.
It's a really fun book to read. Thank you, Zach. Where
Thank
can
you.
everyone find you?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Zachary Zane _ or my website zacharyzane.com are probably the best places to find me and follow me.
Love it, and get this book. I'll have the link in the description. As usual, I'm Dr. Tara, sex professor in LA, and I love you guys. Thanks for watching a Love Bites video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have an orgasmic day. Bye.
Bye.
This was Love Bites by Dr. Tara.